All right, so in this video, we are going to talk about two different types of linear equations. So the first type you should already be familiar with is called slope intercept form, y equals mx plus b, where we remember that m stands for the slope of a line. Remember Mr. Slope Guy, and b stands for the y-intercept of the line. This is our preferred form that we would like to graph in. So we are going to look to see how we can take standard form and convert it into slope intercept form. You'll know you have standard form when both x and y terms are on the same side of the equation. So let's look through the next few equations and try to decide if they're in y equals mx plus b form or standard form. So the first one would be in slope intercept form. The reason is because y is isolated. That's the fancy way of saying y is by itself on one side of the equation. As opposed to this next one, which is in standard form, because you can see the x and y terms are both on the same side of the equation. This next equation has y isolated by itself. So that means it's in slope intercept form. And this last one have x and y on the same side, which means that it's in standard form. So we want to practice going from standard form into slope intercept form. To do that, we are going to try and isolate y, meaning get y by itself on this side of the equation. We've done that before. We have isolated variables when we've solved equations. So just for a second, I want to pretend that this x isn't here. What if this equation was 8 plus 4y equals 12? And we wanted to solve for y or isolate y. Remember, we would get rid of the 8 first by subtracting it from both sides. And then lastly, we would divide both sides by 4. So actually, to isolate y, those are going to be the same exact steps. Subtract the 8, divide the 4. Except now, the only difference is, so this is back in the day, this is now. Now there's an x attached to the 8. That is the only difference. So to isolate y, to get y by itself, we need to first get rid of the 8x from both sides by subtracting 8x. Just like here, 8 minus 8 canceled, 8x minus 8x cancels, leaving me with 4y equals. This time, however, I can't combine the like terms because they're not like terms. Here, 12 minus 8 was 4. I can't subtract 12 minus 8x. They're not the same. So for these problems, because we're trying to get it in slope intercept form, we're actually going to put the negative 8x first and then the 12 at the end so that it's in mx plus b format. And then lastly, so I just did the subtraction step. My next step is the division step. So I'm going to divide everything in this equation by 4. So divided by 4, divided by 4, divided by 4. So the 4's cancel here, just like they canceled here, leaving me with y equals negative 8 divided by 4 is negative 2. The x remains. 12 divided by 4 is 3. That is your slope intercept form. Slope is negative 2, intercept is 3. So let's do this now again with negative 3x minus 4y equals 8. So again, we're trying to isolate y. So let's start with the subtraction step, getting rid of 3x from both sides by subtracting the 3x. So now it's gone here. That's what we want. We're left with negative 4y. Don't forget the negative sign. That's attached to the 4. I'm going to put the negative 3x first, the positive 8 second. Now we go to the division step. So the division step, I'm going to divide everything by the coefficient of y. So I'm going to divide everything by -4, by -4, by -4. Because again, that cancels the -4s. So y is equal to, I don't know what -3 divided by -4 is. So I'm going to leave it as a fraction, but I do know that two negatives divided make a positive. So it's +3/4 x. And then +8 divided by -4 is -2. That is my slope intercept form. Let's do the next one. So we start always with the subtraction step. In this case, we're getting rid of -10x because the minus sign. So I'm actually going to add 10x to both sides. So -10x plus 10x cancel. So I'm left with 5y equals 10x plus 2. Now we move into the division step, dividing everything by the coefficient of 5. So the 5's cancel, leaving me with y equals 10 divided by 5 is 2x. 2 divided by 5, I don't know what that is. When you don't know what it is, you literally leave it as a fraction. So 2/5. Now let's take a look at graphing. So this is going to be taking something written in standard form, writing it in slope intercept form. So we have to rewrite it in slope intercept form first, then we're going to graph it. So this is standard form because see, x and y are on the same side. So we need to start off with the subtraction step. We need to get rid of the x on both sides. So to get rid of x, I do minus x to both sides. X minus x cancels, so I'm left with y equals, I put the -x first, and then the +3. This is in slope intercept form because there's nothing to divide by with the y. So this is my slope intercept form, which means that my slope is -1, my y-intercept is +3. Remember our good old pal, Mr. Slope Guy? We want to remember him today because we're going to be graphing. So remember, when you have slope intercept form, you start by plotting the y-intercept on the y-axis. So the y-intercept is 3, so I'm going to count up 1, 2, 3. And my slope is -1. So that means I'm going to go down 1, and remember it has a denominator of 1 over 1. Down 1 over 1, like the negative I of Mr. Slope Guy. Down 1 over 1. And I want to fill in as many dots as possible. Remember, you can always reverse the pattern by going up 1 over 1, up 1, back 1. So that's going to be my graphed line, which is good because this matches the negative eyebrow of Mr. Slope Guy. Okay, next one. So let's start with the subtraction step. So we need to get rid of x on both sides by doing minus x to both sides. That gets rid of the x, leaving me with -y equals -x and +1. So if it's -y, remember there's an invisible 1 in front of y. So I want to divide this entire equation in my division step by -1. So in my division step, I divide by y's coefficient, leaving me with y equals -1x divided by -1 is +1x. +1 divided by -1 is -1. So my slope, there's an invisible 1 there, and my y-intercept is -1. So I'll start by plotting my y-intercept on the y-axis. And this is a positive slope with a denominator of 1. So I'm going to go up 1 over 1. Or reverse it and go down 1, back 1. And I want you to do as many points as can fit because that's going to be very helpful for this part of the unit. And we really should have arrows on the end because this line goes on forever. Okay, one last one. So do the subtraction step first. Get rid of the x on both sides by doing -2x. giving me y equals negative 2x plus 2. That's my final answer because it's in slope-intercept form. Y is isolated. So I'm going to start at 2 on the y-axis. My slope is negative 2 with a denominator of 1. So I'm going to go down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, or work backwards and connect those points with a line, draw some arrows on the end. That is how you graph an equation that started in standard form by putting it in slope-intercept form.